Welcome everyone to our Monday night shiur. השיעור is להצלחת אמנון אברמוב ומשפחתו. השם יברך אותם בברכה והצלחה, פרנסה טובה, ישועות גדולות. Tonight we start off with an Ari HaKadosh. The topic of our shiur tonight is preparing for Pesach. Now usually I like to speak something about current events or parasha, and really Parashat Kitisa, the Egel HaZahav, we didn't really get a chance to talk about it last week. I was unable to come. And there's so much to talk about the Egel HaZahav and how it's connected to Mashiach Tzidkenu and the Geula Atida. However, Avar Zmano Batel Korbano, and we got to prepare for Pesach. 2 times a year, most of the mitzvot of the Jewish people are in effect. One is the month of Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot,
Nisan.
And one is the month of Nisan. It starts with Birkat HaElanot, then Pesach, then Sefirat HaOmer, leading up to Shavuot. It's like one huge holiday. In fact, the Ramban, Nachmanides, says that Chol HaMoed is really one whole, Sefirat HaOmer is one big Chol HaMoed. It's really all a holiday. We're always, the Jewish people are always in a holiday, Baruch Hashem. We were Zocheh. We don't work. We're not. So the Ari says something important. He says, Hanizhar, one who is careful, mimashu chametz b'Pesach, from even a drop, even a morsel, a teensy bit, you know what mashu is? That's a mashu. A mashu. B'Pesach of chametz, careful not to eat, even to have hana'ah, to eat anything, mashu, chametz b'Pesach. Look at the words of the Ari. Muftach lo. What's muftach lo? It's promised to him, shelo yichta kol hashana, he will not get into a situation of an avera the whole year. Rabotai, I don't know if you just understood what I just said. 2 times that I remember, the Ari HaKadosh promised something. 2 times. Number 1, whoever stays awake the whole night of Shavuot doesn't die that whole year. Whoever learns Torah stays awake the whole night of Shavuot will not die the whole year. That's in Shara Kavanot Meforash. In the book of Shara Kavanot of the Ari HaKadosh. A second thing, now when I say stay up a whole night of Shavuot, it doesn't mean talking with your friends, having a drink, having something else. I don't want to say chach, lach, garinim, semichki. That's not. Better if you go to sleep. When he says staying up all night, it means staying up learning Torah. First the Chumash, then the Nevi'im, then the Ketuvim, then the Mitzvot, then the Idra Rabbah, then the Idra Zuta, then the Midrashim, then the Yiratzon early in the morning. Really, tell you the truth, I was once asking my friend, it was right after Purim. Purim over here is an interesting time in this shul. It's a very interesting time. I don't know if you saw the videos of our shul. Just put up some videos, maybe you see it. So I told my friend, he says, Purim, everybody has a holiday that he's very connected to. He's very connected to. Purim is connected to a certain person that I know. He's a very jolly person. He's happy. Kaifavads, kaifuish, drink, nalivai, be happy. Very easygoing. Let's go. So I said to the guy, what I feel I'm very connected to? Shavuot. I said, why? I said, do you know there isn't one siman in the Shulchan Aruch that says the halachot of Shavuot? There isn't a halacha in the Shulchan Aruch that talks about Shavuot. Nothing to do. It's a regular Yom Tov. When did the whole thing start of staying up all night? When did it start? When did it really get into effect? 400 years ago. 450 years ago. Once the Bet Yosef was learning a Zohar. The Zohar HaKadosh. The Shulchan Aruch, Baal Shulchan Aruch, was learning a Zohar. He was not even in Israel at that time. He was in Turkey. He was in the middle of learning Torah, and suddenly out of his throat, they hear a different voice. Possessed. And the voice starts to say, I am the Mishnayot that you guys are learning tonight.
Interesting.
They were learning Mishnayot that day. Mishnah. Pitom, boom! I am the Mishnah that you guys are learning tonight. And I just want to let you guys know, if you guys were 10 together tonight, you guys would have brought the Geula.
Oh, they were just learning.
They were learning. Because they learned the Zohar. The Zohar says, blessed are the people who stay up all night the night of Shavuot. But nobody used to do it. It wasn't, for sure, not in Ashkenaz. For sure not over there. In Sfarad, there were groups of people who learned the Zohar HaKadosh. He used to do it. And suddenly they hear out of the Beit Yosef's mouth a voice come out. I am the Mishnah. Thank you. You guys are picking me up. You guys are giving me kishutim. You guys are giving me ornaments. God, may Hashem bless you. But if you guys were 10, you could have brought the Geulah. That's what the voice out of Rabbi Yosef Karo's, who brings it? The Shla HaKadosh. The Shla HaKadosh. The great Rav Horovitz. One of the great, he's buried right next to the Rambam. To go to the Rambam in Tveria, up the steps is the Rambam. Down the steps over there is the Shla. He's the one who wrote a special prayer for the children. You should have good children to be read every Erev Rosh Chodesh Sivan. You could really read it anytime you want. Here is the Et Ratzon to read it Erev Rosh Chodesh Sivan. So he brings on the story. The next day they were outside of Israel. How many days of Shavuot they do over there? 2. So all the friends come that were there. Like, guys, you guys missed out. We got to stay up all night again. But already this time, when the voice came back, says that once you guys weren't together the first time, it already avar zmano. This story spread like wildfire, and it became a very big thing. The Ari HaKadosh took it to a next level. The Ari HaKadosh writes in Shar Kavanot, whoever stays up all night on Shavuot, muftach lo, it's promised him, shelo yamut velo yinazek kol hashana. He will not die and he will not get hurt the whole year. He promises. Now this isn't some midrash. The Ari HaKadosh brings this on in Shar Kavanot. Muftach lo. Unless obviously it's time for that person's time to go. If it's already his time is up. He did his tikkun already. It's time to go. What does it mean? It's promised him he will not die. What does that mean? It's promised. I mean, he will not die early before his time. Chas v'shalom. There are some people, they cause themselves death. Chas v'chalila. I don't want to bring up stuff over here, but let's say a person lives a very unhealthy life. Very unhealthy life. And he already goes to the doctor. Doctor tells him, listen, your heart arteries are clogged 50%. You gotta stop. No, I'm good. He's gonna say, I'm gonna stay up all night of Shavuot, every single night. Like, now you're being a chamor. You're being a peter hamor. The doctor is telling you your arteries are clogged 50%, and you're saying I'm gonna stay up. No, that's exactly what the Ari is saying. Anything that you know, chas v'shalom, sometimes a person could be liable for his own life. You could be liable for your life. You can't say, I'm going to put my eyes, headband over my eyes, I'm going to cross the Queens Boulevard. It's not for nothing. It's called the Boulevard of Death. You understand? An Ocean Parkway today, here you can't even drive more than 20 miles per hour. Every other thing is lights. They take pictures and you can't figure it. $115. $125. Nobody, there's not even one death recorded there in a long time, Baruch Hashem. Why? They put over there the cameras. Soon it's going to be everywhere, these things. Now they come up with a new thing. They have cameras right now in UK, soon to be in America. If you litter on the floor, you litter. They catch you, and they send you a ticket to the house. In UK, they already started to do this.
That with dogs.
They do it with dogs. Anyways, so the Ari HaKadosh, when he says muftach lo, it means that you don't put yourself, chas v'shalom, in a sakana. That's obvious. Don't be a... Now, what does it mean? The Ari says, Muftacho shelo yichta. If you're zahir bechametz, it's promised to you that you're not going to sin the whole year. If you're promised not to eat chametz on Pesach, it means like this. It's very pashut. A lot of times in our life, it's not our fault, and we're put into situations that we don't know that the person that's giving us food wasn't careful in the hashgacha. I was once in a bar mitzvah in Williamsburg. And Williamsburg, this is like the Mea She'arim of America. It's the, black and white. Yeah. Borough Park is colorful. But Williamsburg is black and white. There are people that don't know English. They don't know English. Okay? It's like you're going to a new world over there. You're stepping in, you're in a new world. I love it. Anyways, you go to so I was over there in a bar mitzvah. I used to go to a Sephardic rabbi over there. I used to teach us Atzrot Hayim, Etz Hayim. And they served wine on the tables. Wine.
In cups.
No, wines, bottles of wines. And the Jew, his neshama is always very curious. Beru, they say in Bahrain. So in Betumi, I took the bottle of wine to see the hashgacha. Now, what came into my mind to see the hashgacha? I have no idea. I'm in an ultra-religious, super religious bar mitzvah. What came to mind? Why would I have to see the hashgacha? I see over there the yain is not mivushal. And who's opening up all the bottles of the wine? All the Spanish waiters over there pouring cups of wine for everybody. That's what the Ari means. Muftach lo shelo yechta. It's promised to him that he won't sin, that it won't come to him a situation where against your will, be'ones, by accident, you'll fall into an avera. Like cases that happened by tzaddikim, they served in front of them milk. Chochomochi, you know what chochomochi is? Warm milk with a little bit of salt. Suddenly, boom, the whole cup fell. They serve him another. Boom, it fell again. Something is wrong here. It doesn't, soups don't fall twice. Where did you get this milk? Chalav Yisrael or Chalav Yishmael? What kind of chalav it is? And then they find out it's chalav from a camel. Once famous story was with the Khatam Sofer. Khatam Sofer. The Khatam Sofer, you guys know Khatam Sofer, he said about himself, the keys of halakha are in my hands in this generation. He was a Hungarian Rav. He was a student of Rav Natan Adler. Rav Natan Adler, Adler in German I think means the eagle. Eagle. House of the eagle. Khatam Sofer had his first son, I think he was 54 years old. First child, he was 54 years old. His first wife, he wouldn't divorce her. She didn't give him any kids. She passed away. He got remarried with Rabbi Akiva Eger's daughter that was a widow. Now, Rabbi Akiva Eger was the Gadol Hador of his generation. He was the Rebbe of Posen. He was Gadol Hador. You know what Rabbi Akiva Eger is? You learn halakha, you don't move without Rabbi Akiva Eger. And his daughter was a widow. She was the Khatam Sofer's second wife, his second marriage. She gave him a son. I think he was like 54, 55 years old. He became known as the Ktav Sofer. The Ktav Sofer. Big dolador too. The Khatam Sofer, at the end of his life, he suffered from, he couldn't use the bathroom. He needed to use a catheter. Catheter. Back then, I'm talking 18th century. You know what it is to use a catheter? Lo aleinu. For a Gadol Hador also, what's he doing using a, why Hashem understand? So they asked him this question once, and he was very close to his students. He wasn't like one of those Rosh Hashivas that, there were some Rebbes that was their shita. I'm closing my room, and that's it. Ben Ish Chai was like that, by the way. Ben Ish Chai, he wasn't easy to approach. He was locked in his 4 amot. He used to learn Etz Hayim all day. I don't want to get into it right now. Khatam Sofer was not like that. He was very with his students. He was very into his students' lives. So the Khatam Sofer, they asked him, Rebbe, how did you, what was the punishment in Shamayim? So he said something that was very scary. This is really a drasha for Shovavim. He said to them, because I didn't speak enough to my Talmidim about the Isur of Chas v'Shalom. I don't want to say the Isur that men do, because I didn't speak about that enough. Midah keneged midah, from Shamayim, I was punished with, I have to use from that place, a catheter. So you look at the digdug benikuda sa'ara with the tzaddikim. The Khatam Sofer is about himself. So the Khatam Sofer's Rebbe was Rav Natan Adler. Rav Natan Adler, he was an Ashkenazi who did everything like a Sfaradi. That was the Khatam Sofer's Rebbe. That was his Rebbe. The Khatam Sofer, Rav Natan Adler. Everything they used to do like the Ariya Kadosh. Everything like the Ariya Kadosh. Ariya Kadosh. Even back then already, they used to follow, even Ashkenazim. They used to follow the Ariya Kadosh. So, at one time, the Khatam Sofer sent his students to the Secretary of Education of Hungary. Secretary? My brother-in-law is from Hungary. Secretary of Education, the Mintz family, the Ashkenazim.
I'm looking at the other one.
He said they're from, he's not my wife, no, not that one. He's a Bukharian from the core. So they sent to the Secretary of Education. Why? They made a rule, all Jewish children have to come to school on Shabbat, have to learn secular education, closed down. You gotta go to the public school. It was time of Haskalah. You know what Haskalah is? One of the worst times of the Jewish people. Till today, technically, it is Haskalah is the Enlightenment. John Locke, Montesquieu, Schmontesquieu, all the Mar'in Bishin, all the Shedim from the Gehenom. So they went to the chief of the Secretary of Education. He was a nice guy. You could relate. Dressed to impress, as they say. Back then, everyone is clean shaved. Not just clean shave. Razor. Not even one hair. Gesundheit. So they go to him, and all the Chachamim come to him. Students of the Khatam Sofer. Barada. Everything is ruffled, like they just came out of the caveman. They just came out. No, Chas v'Shalom, not caveman, but they came out. You know how it is. Who has time for being well groomed? They go to the Secretary of Education, and he says to them, "Distinguished guests, my distinguished guests, serve them some English tea." You guys know what English tea is?
Yeah.
Ariel, you know what English tea is? What's English tea?
With milk.
What was milk?
Tea with milk.
Tea with milk.
Indian style.
English tea.
Yeah.
The Indians got it from them. They were colonized. Lolin. English tea. Now, what's the problem with that? What's the problem, Ariel? Halav Yisrael. You think they held of OUD back then? There's no OUD. No sakanat nefashot. Now, these guys, they need a Secretary of Education to be on his good side. If they're on his bad side, Chas Shalom, it's a siman klaya to all the Yaldei Israel. But in this time when they really needed him, they decided to be boteach ba'ashem hesed yisovevenu. They told the Secretary of Education, "I'm sorry, we can't drink your English tea. We're lactose intolerant." What? One Jew is lactose intolerant. 4 Jews never agree on one thing. Something is fishy over here. All 4 of you are lactose intolerant? It cannot be. Bibu, Halav Yisrael. Halav Yisrael, you Jews, you think you know everything? I only raise cows in my barn. You see, you Jews think you know all the halachot. So they said, "We're sorry, Adoni, Rosh HaMemshala, Sara Chinuch, we can't take the milk, it's halacha." He got so angry, he said, "Bring the maid in here, we'll ask her." Now, he doesn't know the halacha, she's not an eman. He brings in the maid. He says to her, "Tell me the truth." Anger, you know. Ashkenazi. He says, "What did you put inside this? What kind of milk?" She saw his face, she got herself afraid. She started to stammer. "What happened? Answer, woman." She said to him, "I got afraid this morning because you told me to be very careful to serve the guests the English tea, and I knocked the jug of the milk. So I ran across to the next farm and I milked some horse milk. Horse milk. And I wouldn't have done it if the other maid, my friend, wouldn't have told me that it's tastier than the cow milk. So there's nothing to be worried for. English tea is served." When the Secretary of Education heard that, ask somebody from Kazakhstan. When he you had to hear something? Okay. Excuse me. When the Secretary of Education heard that, he said, "Torah emet, Moshe emet."
Not Jewish?
No, he was a goy. But he said, look how Hakadosh Baruch Hu wrote the Torah. Right here and there, he took the decree against the Yaldei Israel and he ripped it apart in front of him. Wow. So you never lose out by keeping mitzvot. Sometimes you don't know right now what you're getting. That's what the Ari means. Muftach lo, Abraham, shelo yihta kol hashana. Yiftach lo, shelo yihta kol hashana. Why? Another story. There was one guy. This story was said over by Rav Zilberstein, Abraham. Rav Zilberstein is one of the Rav Chaim Kanevsky's son-in-law. Rav Dov Cook's father-in-law.
Wow.
More than that you want? Rav Zilberstein said, story. It's brought down in his book, Niflaot Maasecha. Niflaim Maasecha. Brings there a story. One time, during time of the Haskalah, one son, Ben Sorer Umorer. Ein shomer lekol avivim, or zolel v'soveh. Against his parents, against Hashem. Really evil boy. This boy got very sick. Coronavirus. Got very sick. His father comes to him and says, Bajim, listen to Papa. You're on, look at you. Say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, Papa, I learned in university, this, that. Aram, how am I going to say Hashem? How? So he told his father, I'll make you a deal. If Hashem saves me from this holy, let's have a debate. Real university style. Let's have a debate, but not like today debate, where they screw you from the back. Back then, debate was a debate.
Meant something.
It was meant something. Today, there's no debate. Today, there's all levi zila, as they say. His father says, you know what? Ala eni va'ala rasi. Let's go. I daven for you. He davened for him. In Russian, they say, chesna gavarat. He says, Be'emet, he got up from his Midal Cholio. They had a debate, but a true debate. A debate that meant something. Abraham, the son got up. And the father was able to prove to him, Torah emet, Moshe emet. The son became so chazak, emet v'yatziv. But, as you know, back then, World War I, big wars there were. He was nitgayes latzava. He was drafted to the war. He became katzin. When the Jews go to something, they go to the top. Katzin means admiral. They were going to the war. Back then, you know what war was. It wasn't war. It was disease, hunger, famine, typhus, cholera. People would die more from the diseases than they would from the war. You know how many people died after the Holocaust from the food that they ate afterwards? How much they couldn't handle it. They bloated and lo aleinu. So this boy, he became the admiral, and it was right before Chazit. They went to the war. The big general comes. Today, Joe Biden, our illustrious presidentas. Today, he made 2 female 4-star generals. He's standing up over there, this tzaddik, and he says, we are standing in the thingamajig. He's in the Pentagon. In the thingamajig. He doesn't know he's in the Pentagon. And the guy, he's Secretary of Defense. He forgets his name. You know, the general. Behemet, this is today. He runs the thingamajig. The what it is called. The guy forgot his Secretary of Defense's name and the Pentagon. Tell me, isn't the world laughing at America right now? I'm laughing at it. I'm in America. Okay? Anyway, that's why it's the party of the Chamor. We gotta do Pidyon Petar Chamor. If we don't do Pidyon Petar Chamor, we're not gonna get rid of the Chamor. Anywho, so this guy goes to the war, and the general comes, and he says he's about to give his big speech, but the general is running late, and you know how the Jewish people, mincha, time for mincha. Now he's the admiral, but he's doti chazak. Enzman, he became religious. He promised his dad, he's in it. He says, you know, until the general is gonna come, this, that, I'm gonna go down on mincha. True story. I was a little B'Shem says a story. You heard it from the Bala Maisa. He goes to the side. He's the admiral. He starts to daven mincha. I know he's about to 10% come back alive from this thing. He starts to daven. Before you go to war, you're going to daven with kavanah. You want to daven with kavanah? Go to war. How was that? He's davening with kavanah. Suddenly the general comes. Where is the admiral? He's over there shakaling. He gets upset. Take him to the prison of the army. The Emsa Shmona Yisrael. They take him. Run him up. Meanwhile, everyone else goes to the war. To the war. He gets sent to the military prison. He gets put on trial. They ask him, what's your name? He knows he's going to die. He says, what's your name? Lav Natseach Mizmor LeDavid. Where you come from? Ya'ancha Hashem Bayom Sara. What's your mother's name? Yisagev Hashem Elokei Yaakov. They said, this guy, my nishgash, send to the mental hospital. Like this, he was in the mental hospital 3-4 weeks. War ended. He was sent home alive. Muftach lo. That's what it means. Muftach lo, Rabbi Isai. When the Aryim Shavuot, it must be stood away. That's what it means, Rabbotai. So when the Aryeh Kadosh says something, Aryeh ki yishag, when the lion roars, milo yira. Who's not afraid? Shevet Yehuda bedocha gubtzar hayishag Aryeh bayar. Will the lion roar at night? Not the Lion King, the remix. Not this shtuyot. I'm talking about the Ari HaKadosh. It says over there, Ki Tov. But however, the Mishlei says, Ki Tov HaKelev Chai. Better is a live dog, min Ari Amet, from the dead lion. What's good if the Ari HaKadosh is standing in the corner over there, nobody uses him, nobody learns him? Better to be a Kelev Chai, better to be a live dog. Better to be the live dog. So this is how we start our shiur, and I know this was a hefty introduction. But when I say you have to be careful b'mashu chametz b'Pesach, not only in eating mashu chametz b'Pesach. You see, our grandparents, when they used to make food, did they have something called potassium iodate inside their food? No. Did they have something, I don't know, what else was inside their food? All those chemicals, everything was whole foods. Chametz for them to keep, matok midvash, everything was easy. Yakte pomidor, yakte bodarim, egg, soup,
eggs.
Even their rice was no issue. Today everything is enriched. What the heck they put in there? We don't know. Exactly. So therefore, back then it was easy keeping chametz b'Pesach, not to eat chametz. Now, what's the difference between chametz and matzah? Let's look at it. Chametz. There's a mem in chametz. There's a mem in matzah. Yes. There's a tzaddik in chametz. Chametz. There's a tzaddik in matzah. Yes. What's the difference? Chet and a hey. How do you make a chet? It's like a doorway, right? How do you make a hey? It's a doorway, but it's a little bit open. A little bit open. What's the difference? One slash of a pen. What's the difference between a chet and a hey? Just a little line. A little line, that's it. That's how easy it is to be nichshal b'chametz b'Pesach. That's how easy it is to be nichshal b'chametz b'Pesach. And how do you, now look at the chametz. Look at the beauty. What's chametz? What's chametz, Rabbi Yisai? Chametz, again, what's the letters? Chet, mem, tzadik. In life, we have 4 beings. Domem, what's domem? Inanimate objects. Tzomeach, tzadik. Tzomeach is plants, life. Plantation, that's tzadik. Chametz. Chametz is a tzadik? Yes, that's tzomeach. Next is what? Me'achai. What's chai? Live things, animals. Chet. Chametz. What's the first letter of chametz? Chet, chai. And what's the last thing? Medaber. What's medaber? Mem. Mem, chet, tzadik. Chametz. What's the only thing that doesn't have chametz? The first thing, domim. Inanimate. You want to be careful of chametz on Pesach? Be inanimate. Close your mouth. Close your mouth. Silence. Lo matzati laguf tov ela shitika. Now what's domem? How do you spell domem? What's the first letter of domem? Dalet. What's the second letter? Domem. Mem. Mem and mem. Dalet. Mem. Mem. What's the first? Dalet is 4. Mem is how much? 40. 40 and 4. What's the last mem? Another 40. 40 plus 44 is how much? 84. Does that number sound familiar? Tikkun Habri. How old was Yaakov Avinu when he got married? 84. How many times do you have to fast for that Avera? 84. Pesach comes right after. We do the Tikkun of the 84. Once we finish with the 84, we finish the Domem. Now we can take care of the rest, the Chametz. We took out the Yetzara of the Domem. Now we have to deal with the Chametz. And what's Chametz? What is it between Chametz and Matzah? Just a little stroke of the pen. A little stroke of the pen. Chet and Hey. What's the difference? Nothing almost. And what's the Chet of Chametz? That's the doorway. What did Hashem pass over?
Mashkov.
The mashkov, the doorway. You got to put the dam. And what did we put on the doorway? Dam. Dam. Domem. That's the domem. Hashem took care of the domem for us. Now we have left the chai, someach, and the medaber. We got to take all that out of from the chametz, the yetzahara. And now I'm going to tell you another big secret. If a person thinks about it, before Mitzrayim, there was one thing that wasn't in kinetic energy. It wasn't in action in this world. It wasn't turned on, let's say.
Torah.
Teshuvah.
Repentance.
Teshuvah.
Wait, hold on.
Think about it. Adam did Teshuvah, wasn't accepted. Reuben did Teshuvah, wasn't accepted. Am Yisrael, 210 years crying to Hashem, wasn't accepted. Esav wasn't accepted. He cried to his father Isaac, don't you have one more bracha for me? No, he's done.
What about Cain?
Cain, Tshuva he did, wasn't accepted. He said he was the one who said the first words. Gadol avoni miniso. Hen garashta oti mal pnei adama umipanecha esateh vayiti nad venad ba'aretz. Hagar.
It was accepted.
But Hagar wasn't. Yishmael you're talking about.
Yeah.
Interesting point. Interesting point. We got to think about that. But everyone else, the Jews at least, weren't accepted. Why wasn't it accepted? Before Passover, we didn't have one thing that also starts with Teshuvah starts with the letter Taf. And we didn't have something that only Passover allowed it to happen. What is that? Matan Torah. Without Torah, there is no Teshuvah. That's why we look at the Haggadah of Pesach. And what is it saying, the Haggadah of Pesach? Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, and Rabbi, who's the third one? Abraham? Who's the third one? Close. You're in the right ballpark.
Eliezer Akiva, no? Who's Akiva?
The child knows. Rabbi Tarfon. Hayu misubim b'bnei Brak. They were sitting in Bnei Brak. And all night, what were they doing?
They were learning.
They were just speaking about the miracles of Passover. On Pesach, you have a special mitzvah that you don't have any other time of the year. It's called to be a storyteller. V'shinantam v'higadeta lebincha. You have a mitzvah on Pesach night to put your son in front of you. Sit over here. You say, Bachim, you know, Avadim hayinu leparo. See, the problem is you sit down in the Pesach night. That's why our Rosh Hashanah, our Teshuvah, if our Pesach is not done well, our Rosh Hashanah is not done well. Because the Teshuvah on Rosh Hashanah depends on the Torah of Pesach. Because without the Torah of Pesach, we would never have the Teshuvah. So you have to sit your kid. You don't have to say Yalla nu, Dayenu, Pesach Matzah Omaron. Bring out the gebraks. Bring out the soup. Bring out the bach. I don't know. Bring it out. No, this is not Pesach. Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Yeshua, you misubin. They weren't just saying the story of Passover. They were reclining while they were saying it. We're saying the story right now. It's nothing less than eating matzah and drinking the 4 cups of wine. They were saying the story to whom? 3 big rabbis, Mekubalim, Kedoshim. They're saying the story. They were saying the story. So look at the Haya they were in.
Until the morning.
They didn't realize it came the time to say Shema of Shaharit.
It's like 8 in the morning, 9 now.
Could you believe such a thing? What level they got? How? Gabriel, by saying a story of coming out of Egypt? And not only that,
After the
the Rasha who says, Ma avodah zot lachem, bring out the food. What do we say to this guy? Ilu hayasham? If he was there, lo haya nigal. He wouldn't have come out. Why wouldn't he have come out? Because the whole point of coming out of Mitzrayim is to get the Torah. And the whole point of getting the Torah is to put into action teshuvah. Without teshuvah, we don't have life. There's no life. You would do an Avera, right away, shach from Shamayim, hand would fall off. Person would steal, hand would fall. Person would be Chilul Shabbat, his car would blow up, boom, boom, boom. Person would eat chametz on Pesach, suddenly his throat, he would get choked. So Hashem says the world cannot keep on going like this, or else I would only have a minyan. Kulehai ve'ulai. So we put something called teshuvah. But teshuvah only works if I have Torah. And a Torah is only possible because of Yetziat Mitzrayim. So if I don't sit down on the night of Pesach and I say the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, then I don't get Torah. If I don't get Torah, I don't have teshuvah. And therefore, if I was there, I wouldn't have come out. And that's just a preparation of what Leil HaSeder could do for us. And I want to tell you guys one thing. Something unbelievable. What you do on the night of Pesach, what you have the power to do, is higher than Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Purim, Kippurim, everything. Why? Helech achar ha'ikar. Go after the main thing. Go after the beginning. Go after the beginning. What was the beginning point of Klal Yisrael? And what is Pesach? Pesach, we came out without a zechut. We didn't have zechut. What does Ezekiel say? Va'omar lach b'damai chayi. Va'omar lach b'damai chayi. And I told you, in your blood you will live. And I told you, in your blood you will live. What blood? The blood of Korban Pesach and the blood of Brit Milah. That means Hashem found for us. He opened us a petach. What petach? Something we didn't have. And something even crazier I'm going to tell you right now. Do you know what Korban Pesach is? You see everyone before Passover, every single human being, Cain, Shem, Noach, Adam Arishon, when they would bring a Korban, what kind of Korban they would bring? Korban Olah. What's a Korban Olah? Everything is for Hashem. Korban Pesach was a huge, it was a shock in the world. There is a sacrifice. Not only do you partake, you have to finish it yourself. Nothing goes to God. You know why? You become the Mizbeach. God is saying, you are the Kadosh now. It's no more Korban is for me. I'm telling the world. Twitter. Somebody just sold the first Twitter. $2.5 million. Twitter. Guys. I have walking holy people in the world. They're the new Mizbeachs. I'm not looking for a Korban Olah anymore. They're my Korban. They're my partners. And that's why right after the golden calf, what does Hashem tell us? Don't eat meat and milk. Don't forget what makes you holy. You, in your essence as a Jew, is holy. You are the Korban Pesach. That realization alone was enough for Hashem to say, B'damai chayi. You should live in your blood. Why live in your blood? Your blood is holy. You are holy. What makes you holy? I make you holy. Because you came out of Mitzrayim. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.